In my job, I talk to videographers from all over the country. A lot of them send me tapes. It's not bad camera work, it's just mediocre camera work. When I ask them why they're not expanding their camera work and why they're not doing these other creative things, they usually give me 3 or 4 responses. First response is, well, I use a tripod and I have a very good one. Now, we all know that a tripod limits you in the amount of created shots. It limits you in the amount that you're able to get around.
Tripods are very important as a tool and where they are necessary. Like, for instance, in a situation where any movement whatsoever from the camera part is going to disturb the viewer from the story, like an interview with President Clinton. You don't want that camera to move at all. You want it to be solid because the full attention should be on a subject. But when you are living, when you are capturing an action that is fluid, that is constantly changing like a group of people, the best shots are taken with handheld cameras, simply because you never know what's going to happen next, but you have to be prepared. Also, it gives you the opportunity to have wide-angle lenses that allow you to come in very close and increase the perspective, which are always very dynamic and very emotional, very strong. You always can back up and go into a telephoto and capture a personality, a moment there where there is a beautiful face, the lighting is just right. But if every shot you have is from a tripod, you cannot be changing the tripod to have a ground shot, a high shot, a movement. You anchored to that one point. So what you're saying is that shooting at an entire event from one point on a tripod is like trying to compose a whole orchestration with one note. I don't think it's the easiest way to do it.
The second excuse that they use is, well, I'm self-taught, or I have my own style. Well, that's almost like a writer saying that they use their own alphabet. All the different styles come from a combination of things that we've picked up all different places. The same with music, the same with many different art forms. Sure, you can have your own style, but it's a combination of different things. And so to just simply say I have my own style, if your own style is just average, that's not going to cut it in the future of videography. The third thing people say is that, well, I don't get any complaints, my customers seem to like my work. My response to that is, if you go to a McDonald's or some fast food restaurants, you don't hear many complaints either, because the expectation isn't that high. Many of those customers may not just call you back. They may just go get someone else, or someone else may come by and look at the tape that you've done and look at somebody else's and hire someone else instead of you. Why would they do that? Because you are not as creative as the next guy. Now, that other guy who's being creative doesn't cost him any more money, doesn't cost him any more equipment. It just costs them the ability to think on the job, the ability to bring a shot list, and the ability to practice when they're not on the job.
Before going any further in this tape, please stop and review the rule of thirds that you see here. The rule of thirds involves mentally dividing your viewfinder up like a tic-tac-toe board and framing your shot so the important elements of the shot fall on the lines or where the lines intersect. Broadcast professionals are very aware of the rule of thirds and use it to its utmost potential. Let's take a look at how it applies to an interview situation. Position the eye that is closest to the edge of the screen at or slightly below one of the 2 upper intersecting points. Now let's look at examples that will make this rule easier to understand.
Let's look at an example of someone being interviewed and superimpose the tic-tac-toe board. You see the circle, which represents the area that the eye usually falls in. It's either at or below the intersecting point. This will become natural to you the more interviews you do, and you will naturally, instinctively place the outer eye at or below that intersecting point. Keep in mind that this is only a rule, and rules, of course, are occasionally meant to be broken, but it's a nice guideline to get you started when you're doing interviews. Most videographers know that videotaping a sign at an angle can give you better depth and better perspective. But very few videographers know about this little-known black belt technique that you can try in your next job. Either walk back or pull back from beyond the sign, ending the shot by finally revealing the full sign. Okay, your homework tonight is to watch the last story on the Evening Network News. The last story on these news shows is usually a fun feature story where the broadcast camera people get to show off some of their best technique. If you get a pen and you get some paper and you jot it down, you're going to notice many of these shots fall into the wide, angled, low, linking, depth, and opposite shots. Also, you're going to pick up some ideas that you never thought of before, and you're going to be able to apply these. So watch the news tonight, watch that last story, which is usually the feature story, usually a fun one, and notice all the creative shots that they're using that you're not using now, but you'll be using in the future.
Walk towards me, slowly, and walk right past me.
Just walk right by me as if I'm not here. And action.
I called this morning and they said it's the cabin.
Ready? And action. Good. Don't be afraid to set up shots. And what I mean by setting up shots is just arranging people in a way to make your camera shot a little bit better. You can't spend days trying to get some of these shots. You got to get them then. So if that means taking somebody and moving them to left or right so the sun's peering through or so they're lined up and somebody's in the background, that's okay. Do you know on broadcast television they do this all the time? The cameraman is constantly saying, all right, just move a little to the left. Okay, walk over here, do this. And yet a lot of videographers think, well, I can't set it up, then I'm ruining the mood. Not at all. You just got to go over to him and say, hey, look, I need you to do me a little favor. Just move over here. If you could just sit here, you do something like that. And you would be surprised how having someone just move a little bit for your shot will be really helpful. As a matter of fact, you know, photographers do this all the time. They're constantly setting up shots. And we feel as videographers sometimes that if we have to do that, it's taboo. We're not getting people in the moment. But you have to understand that it's normal to set up shots, and it's okay to set up shots, because when you do it, and people see the video after, they don't remember, oh, that guy moved me a little bit to the left, or that guy moved me to the right. They remember the good shot. Keep looking toward the car for me. Just keep looking at the car. Just reach your hand in that bucket and get some of the pennies out. Now, go ahead, reach them. Take them out. Great. Thank you. Okay. Keep doing what you're doing. I got to get a shot from down here. Just be looking out that way. Don't just ignore me. Pretend I'm not here. Would you just stand right where you're standing? I need to add some depth to the shot. And if you move out of the shot, there's nobody looking at it and it doesn't look as good. Stand right next to him. Yeah, now there's no audio in this, so you could say whatever you want. Okay, just be a little closer together. It'd be great. Act like you love each other. There you go. Now that's a little too close. Okay.
Can you get some depth here?
That's right, great. Just it'll take a second longer.
Look at the eyes.
Man, that's great. Wow, you guys were fabulous. Thank you. Look sort of up a bit toward the sky. Keep going up. I know it's hard because of the light. But see, I promised you a breeze. There we go. Give me a smile. That's nice. Nice smile. There we go. It's hard, but we're getting some air conditioning here. Now look at the keyboard, please. Look at the monitor. I'm sorry. There you go. Smile. Give me a nice smile. Oh, fantastic. One advanced technique that wouldn't seem like an advanced technique is actually to make the camera look like it was done by an amateur, and that's simply done by zooming in and out with the camera, moving it around a little bit, and tilting 45 degrees back and forth, left and right. It's actually a skill to do that when you're a real advanced professional, but it can give that home movie look you've been wanting. Most videographers know about the use of cutaway shots for maximum impact, but many do not know that using 4 or more cutaways in a row can make your video more suspenseful, help build anticipation, or adding them in a row together can have the same emotional impact as one point of view shot. You can edit these cutaways in camera or you could put them all together in a row in post-production. Either way, the next time you're covering an event, try to get as many cutaways as possible, and then see how powerful they are when you edit them together as a group. For these next specialty shots, we definitely recommend a tripod. The first one is the scenery transition, where you zoom in on a person's face, cut into the close-up, and when they pull back, they are in an entirely different location. This is just done with straight cuts editing, like with the blue sky transition. Same kind of thing. You start out on an object, and then you zoom in instead of to a person's face into the sky. When the pullback is done, you're in an entirely different location. We're going to see that again, only this time without a wide-angle lens. Same kind of effect. Go up to the sky. When you pull back, you're in a different location. This could be dissolved with a digital mixer, but all these were done with straight cuts. The next transition is the whip pan transition. Simply take your tripod, lock it on a scene, and then what you're going to do with the tripod handle is spin the tripod handle away from the object and end up at another scene. Now we're going to show you how we did this by breaking it down in slow motion. We start with the first scene, and remember this takes a few different practices. As we whip the tripod, you'll notice right here it cuts to a different shade of green. Back up again, and you'll notice as we go forward there's the different green of the new scene where we whipped into the scene. And whipping into the scene takes a little bit more practice to land on your subject matter. And as you can see, as the tripod slows down, the scene comes in clearer, and you've landed on your second part of the transition. Let's see this one again. That's all there is to it. The next transition is called the focus transition. This involves taking a scene and actually putting your camera out of focus on purpose at the end of the scene, and remembering to also get another similar scene where you come in from out of focus. When you get to a job site, if by chance you forgot your shot list and you happen to be lacking creativity that day, don't panic. First of all, remember Waldo. Your wide, angled, low, linking, depth, and opposite shots. Secondly, think of the 5 camera positions and how you could use them with the situation at hand. You don't have to just have the camcorder on your shoulder. Third of all, if you have to remember one concept from this video when you're out on the job, try to remember the concept of foreground framing that we discussed in chapter 35. Foreground framing is so important for adding that extra dimension to your videos. If the idea of foreground framing can become automatic to you, so many of the other techniques we talked about in this video will fall right into place. Finally, remember that TV is a close-up medium. Do what the broadcasters do and get more close-ups than you think you need, because this gives your camera work maximum impact. You know, one of the fabulous things about this video is after you've completed it, and after you've practiced all the different shots or most of the shots in this video, I know you'll feel confident that if a major network called you and said, we need you to shoot something, you would feel comfortable doing it. You would feel proud from the time that you handed them that tape, that what you gave them with the wide shots, with the angled shots, with the low shots, with the linking shots, with the depth shots, with the opposites, was 99% of what their national broadcast camera people do. And that should be a feeling that you are proud of, because most videographers out there are just average. They're just mediocre, and even worse, they think they're pretty good. The problem with the videographers thinking they're pretty good is they stop learning. The award-winning professionals know you can never stop learning. I appreciate you joining us today, and I hope that you'll go out there and practice all the techniques that you've seen on this tape. I'm sure there are some that you might be doing that we didn't show on this tape. Perhaps we'll show them on another video. In the meantime, we look forward to seeing you on a new video, and if you have any particular shots that you'd like to share with us, feel free to send them in to us. Also, if you've done shots that you're not doing before that you saw in this video that made a big difference in your camera technique, feel free to send those to us. We'd love to see them. We'd love to hear your success stories. I got to get going. Thanks for joining us today. I'll see you again soon.